Shabbat Shalom KLS, Shabbat Shalom to you who are watching us online today. It's my big pleasure to be here back after my month of sabbatical and to see you all again, smiley faces, and I'm sure you're smiling, I hope you're smiling in your homes. So there won't be any rude comments on the Facebook feed today because Sandra is here with us, so she will do a rude comment in live. So maybe you can... Sandra, can I ask you to light the Shabbat candles, please? Maybe if you bring her closer to holiness, she will behave a bit more. Yeah.
Sorry, my bubba would be annoying. Where's the matches?
I don't know.
We'll just come and do it. No, just light it.
Yeah, hold my hand.
Yeah.
Amen. Shabbat Shalom. Okay, so we just entered the month of Adar Rishon, the first month of Adar. And there is, in the Jewish tradition, the month of Adar is a month of great joy and happiness because we celebrate Purim, next actually in this Adar Sheni. But there's a passage in the Talmud that was transformed into a song, and you have a piece of paper with you, and if you are online and you don't have it, don't worry, because it's very easy. Mi shenichnas Adar, whoever enters the month of Adar, marbin besimcha, increase in happiness. And there is a tune, of course, a Hasidic tune, and it goes like this. Lai 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 la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. So the tune is easy. As always, the Hasidic tune easy. So we're going to put now the words into the music. Mishe, 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 Nichnas Adar. Mishe, 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 Nichnas Adar. Mi shenichnas Adar marbin besimcha. Mi shenichnas Adar marbin besimcha. And I want to see and to hear the simcha. Please smile. Mishe, 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 Nichnas Adar. Mishe, 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 Nichnas Adar. מי שנכנס, נכנס האדר, מרבין בשמחה. מי שנכנס, נכנס האדר, מרבין בשמחה. מי שנכנס אדר, מי שנכנס אדר, מי שנכנס, נכנס אדר, מרבין בשמחה. מי שנכנס, נכנס אדר, מרבין בשמחה. מי שנכנס אדר, come on. מי שנכנס אדר, מי שנכנס, נכנס אדר, מרבין בשמחה. מי שנכנס, נכנס אדר, מרבין בשמחה. Misha, we're going to go even faster. Right. You're late, Philip. You're late, so you shouldn't say anything and feel guilty. Okay, let's turn now to page... oh gosh, I lost my page now. Page 76. 76. Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Asharet, Malachi Elyon, Mi Melech Malachi HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem leShalom, Malachi Ashalom, Malachi Elyon. Mi Melech Malachi HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bachuni leShalom, Malachi Ashalom, Malachi Elyon. Mi Melech Malachi HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem leShalom, Malachi Ashalom, Malachi Elyon. Mi Melech Malachi HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Turn the page to page 78. 78. Yedi nefesh avarachaman meshoch avdecha el retzonecha yarutz avdecha kemo ayal yishtachavel mul adarar yerav lo yedidotecha minofet suf vechol tam ya lai la lai lai ya lai la lai lai ya lai la lai lai la lai la la lai la lai ya lai la la lai ya lai la la lai ya lai la 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 lai la lai ya la la 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 ya la la ya la ya la 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 la יגאלנה ופרוס חביב עלי את סוכת שלומר תאיר ארץ מכבודך נגילה ונשמחה בר, מהר אהוב כי בא מועד, וכוננו כי מעולם. לי 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 יא לי 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 יא לי 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 יא לי 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 יא לי 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 יא לי 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 יא לי 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 יא לי לי יא לי לי יא לי לי יא לי יא לי יא לי יא לי יא לי יא לי. Please turn to page 89, and I'd like to greet our friends and members who are online today. So I can see that Michel Lafid is here. Hello, Shabbat Shalom. Yeah, it's a nice way to start with the month of Adar with Michel Nichnas. Russell is here as well. Shabbat Shalom. Liz, Simon, and Lola, good to have you here. Lisa, Shabbat Shalom, Lisa, to you. Anna, Shabbat Shalom, Anna. Nicola is here as well. Great. Shabbat Shalom, Nicola. And Sibyl. And of course, there are many names I can't see because I don't have access to all the secrets of the internet and the different places where you can see us. Do you have?
You mentioned Liz.
Liz Wamsey.
Liz Kelly.
Sorry?
As in Seymour.
Yes, I mentioned Liz.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And I even mentioned Lola, so, yeah, so. Okay. Page 89. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות, עלי הסוף ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון בכינור. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. כי שימרתני אדוני בפועלך, במעשה ידיך הרנן. מה גלו מעשיך אדוני, מאוד עמקו מחשבותיך. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. Page 91. Which tune? I'm turning my gaze to Sandra because there are tunes I'm not allowed to. I don't want to fall asleep right now or something. Okay. No, stay here. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. 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 שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי מקוחה ברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. Let's stop a moment. We are all, and I'm not saying you here at Keles, but always we lose at least half a tone each time we sing this. So I don't know why. And it's not here only, it's any synagogue I go, if there's no accompaniment, we lose half a tone for each verse. And I don't know why. It's the leader's fault, you're right. Yeah, of course. Blame the rabbi. Okay, let's try. התעוררי, כי בעורר קומי אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. Please stand. בואי ושלום עטרת בלה, גם בשמחה ובצולה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. ברכו את אדוני המבורר, ברוך אדוני המבורר לעולם ועד. Please be seated. We praise you, eternal one, our God, sovereign of the universe, whose word brings on the evening, whose wisdom opens heaven's gates, whose understanding changes times and seasons, and whose will set the stars in their courses in the sky. You make day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light. You make day pass and bring on the night, and separate day from night. You rule the host of heaven. We praise your God, whose word makes evening fall. And let's say together, unending love have you shown your people, the house of Israel. Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts have you taught us. When we lie down and when we rise up, we will reflect on the meaning of your laws and rejoice in the words of your Torah and in your mitzvot forever. On them we will meditate day and night, for they are our life and the length of our days. May your love never depart from us. We praise your God, you love your people Israel. Please stand. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך, ובשורבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. אמת. Please be seated. All this we hold to be true and sure. You alone, Eternal One, are our God, and we are Israeli people. You have freed us from oppressors and delivered us from tyrants. You led us out of Egypt forever to serve you in freedom. When we witnessed your power, we praised your name and gave thanks. Willingly we accepted your rule, then full of joy we sang together. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. And let's say together, grant, eternal God, that we may lie down in peace, and let us rise up to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your wise counsel, and for your name's sake be our help. Shield us from sickness and war, from famine and distress, and keep us from wrongdoing. Shelter us in the shadow of your wings, for you are our guardian and deliverer, a gracious and merciful God. Guard our going out and our coming in, that now and always we may have life at peace. We praise your God. May your shelter and peace descend on us and all who dwell on earth. Please stand. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Eternal God, open my lips, let my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu ve'emoteinu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor ve'Anora, El Elyon, גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכה חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומשה ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה מתים אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מזריע השמש ומוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיה מתים ברחמים רבים, צומח נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה. ונאמנת להחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים, קדוש אתה ונורא שמך, ואין לנו אלוהה מבלעדיך. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. Please be seated. And let's read the next prayer together. We thank you, O God, for this Sabbath day, which calls us to a closer communion with you. Though you are near to us at all times, you reveal your presence most clearly when we direct our thoughts towards you in worship and meditation. In you, O God, our humanity is exalted. You are our life. From you come its greatness, its power, its beauty. Establish in us, we humbly pray, a devotion to you that shall be firm in all the circumstances of life. May this service renew in our hearts the sense of your presence and bring us peace. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם, ביני ובין בני ישראל לא תהיה לעולם, כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש. On page 100. Our God and God of ancestors, may our rest on this day be pleasing in your sight. Sanctify us by your commandments and make us loyal to your teaching. Satisfy us with goodness, gladden us with salvation, and purify our hearts to serve you in truth. In your gracious love, Eternal One, let the holiness of your Sabbath enter our hearts. And may all Israel, who hallow your name, be exalted by its peace. We praise you, O God, for the holiness of the Sabbath. Eternal God, be gracious to people Israel, and in your love accept their prayers. May our worship now and always be acceptable in your sight. We praise you, O God, whom alone we worship in reverence. And let's say together, we give thanks that you, Eternal One, are our God, as you were the God of ancestors. You are the rock of our life, the power that shields us in every age. We thank and praise you for our lives which are in your hand, for our souls which are in your keeping, for the signs of your presence we encounter every day, and for your wondrous gifts at all times, morning, noon, and night. We praise you, O God, source of goodness, to whom our thanks are due. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech Adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech Adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha tasim leolam. V'tov beinecha levachech et Amcha Yisrael ואת כל העמים בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. Baruch atah Adonai Yosei HaShalom. We praise you, O God, the source of peace. And let's take now a few moments for private meditation. Lai la la lai 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 ya la lai 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 ya la lai la la lai la la lai ya la la lai la lai lai ya lai 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 ya la lai 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 ya lai ya la lai la la lai la la lai Ose shalom bimromav Uyahase shalom aleinu ve'al kol Israel ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru Amen. We're going to leave it now on a quiet note and not do the speedy thing, because what I want to talk to you tonight is not very joyful, even though it's the month of, sorry, I just need to find it, yeah. It's a month of Adar, and we need to rejoice, but you know, it's also February usually is a month which is dedicated to LGBTQI plus history. And I wanted to link this month to what we did last week, which was to mark the anniversary of the liberation of the camp of Auschwitz, which has become since year 2000 Holocaust Memorial Day, when we celebrate, or not celebrate, of course, commemorate genocides. And I wanted to talk to you tonight about, you know, mixing both events, to talk to you about the gay Holocaust victim and survivor, who are usually, we don't really very much talk about that. So I came across an article written by, oh gosh, I need my glasses, huh? What's her name again? She's a PhD student at UCL, Mi Astrup Jensen, UCL Gender and Sexuality Studies, and UCL Hebrew and Jewish Studies. So she wrote, when was it, last year, an article about her research about all the gays and some lesbians, because we'll talk about it a bit later, but lesbians were not under the, I mean, it's a kind of patriarchal thinking. So, you know, women, as long as they have children, it's fine, you know, they can do whatever with free time. But gay men, they're a threat to the male-centered order, so they need to be corrected. So this is what she writes. Alongside the murder of 6 million Jews, the Holocaust saw the Nazis target 5 million of other victims in the attempt to wipe out entire communities from Germany and beyond. These groups included Poles, Soviets, Roma, political prisoners, disabled peoples, criminals, Jehovah's Witnesses, and those seen as homosexuals. As with the other groups, gay men and to some extent lesbians were perceived as posing a threat to the German people, but to this day, many of these gay victims receive little attention. Due to the limited research funding, the high death rate of gay men in the camps, and the stigma attached to homosexuality, these victims are often forgotten by the world. Rather than generalizing accounts from different groups, as some Holocaust resources tend to, it's essential to highlight more specific experiences in this complex history. So during the Republic of Weimar, which started after the First World War until 1933, there was a flourishing equivalent of what we would now refer to as an LGBTQ plus scene in Weimar, Germany, in the 20s and the 30s, early 30s. This included more than 100 gay and lesbian bars and cafes, songs and films at Magnus Hirschfeld's Institut für Sexualwissenschaft, the Institute for Sexual Science, which contained thousands of books and journals on sexuality and gender. So we often forget about Weimar, which was a kind of a very liberated period for Germany just after the war. Despite paragraph 175 175, which criminalized male homosexuality in the German criminal code, LGBTQ people tended to be observed and monitored rather than persecuted. In contrast to the position of the law, many doctors and scientists didn't consider homosexual behavior deviant. You said deviant, huh? That's the right thing. Deviant. What do you say?
Deviant.
Deviant. Okay, deviant. I can't even say deviant properly. But anyway, the encounters exist, believe me. But things changed when Hitler came to power. Paragraph 175 began to be strictly enforced. Homosexual activities were banned, and Hirschfeld Institute was burned down. Initially, LGBTQ plus people were primarily targeted if they were Jewish, because we have LGBTQ people in our community. I don't want to break the news to you, but it's true. Some Nazis believed that the majority of, if not all, homosexuals were Jewish, because many of the prominent advocates of gay rights and equality were, including Hirschfeld, as well as progressive psychiatrists, physicians, lawyers, and jurists. However, from the mid-1930s, Heinrich Himmler took over the enforcement of anti-gay laws and made them more sweeping. More than 100,000 men identified as homosexuals were arrested, and many sent to concentration camps at Buchenwald, Dachau, Sachsenhausen, Mauthausen, and Auschwitz, where between 5,000 and 15,000 of them died. This represented up to 55% of gay inmates, a higher rate than some other groups. Much less is known about lesbian experiences. Paragraph 175 did not explicitly outlaw lesbianism, yet many went underground and married men. Lesbians in concentration camps were often there not solely because of their sexuality. Many were also Jewish and or political prisoners. So in the camps, the Nazis used badges to identify why people were imprisoned. Homosexuals were assigned a pink triangle. They were, according to testimonies by straight and gay survivors, treated worse than other groups except Jews because they were considered deviant. They often worked longer shifts and were given more physical labor assignments in all weather conditions. This was because many Nazis believed that hard labor, work in gravel pits, cement plants, and brickworks could turn gay men straight. Hundreds of gay men died as a result of these working conditions. In addition, many were beaten to death not only by guards, but also other inmates who identified them by the pink triangles. Nazi scientists also castrated and experimented on inmates in perverse attempt to find a cure for their sexuality. In Sachsenhausen, the majority of gay men were imprisoned in sissy blocks, brackets, and were not allowed to mix with other prisoners. In these blocks, they were subject to overt persecution, including verbal and physical homophobia and surveillance from guards. During one incident in 1941 in Sachsenhausen, 5 gay men were escorted to a bathroom and had hoses shoved down their throats until they were drowned. Testimony from Heinz Heger, a gay Austrian concentration camp survivor, provides insight into homosexual experiences in the camps. He arrived in Sachsenhausen in January 1940. Other inmates who were also rejected by society, such as murderers, called him filthy queer and 175-year, and referred to themselves as normal men, implying he wasn't. Heger recalled that gay men had to sleep with their hands above their blankets, and if they didn't, they were taken outside and had buckets of water thrown at them. Many became sick following this treatment, and some were sent to the hospital where they were experimented on. Heinz worked at the Klinker brickworks, which was known as the Auschwitz for homosexuals. Here he endured horrible working conditions and torture. Later he was transferred to Flossenbürger camp, where he was again tortured. Even after the camps were shut down, many gay survivors were never truly liberated. Homosexuality was not decriminalized in Germany until 1967, in East Germany, and 1969 in West Germany. And so a number of survivors ended up back in prison. Many were also unable to return to their families due to the shame and stigma attached to the pink triangle. Even those who did, like Heinz Heger, often found themselves shunned by society. While Jews, children, and political prisoners could apply for financial and moral support from the new German governments, homosexual men could not. Similarly, their testimonies were not prioritized by Holocaust researchers or by the criminal courts. As a result, many survivors blame themselves for their persecution. Today, there is more recognition of LGBTQ+ Holocaust victims. Holocaust Memorial Day remembers victims and survivors. There are memorials around the world, and some LGBTQ+ activists have, especially during the HIV/AIDS epidemic, reclaimed the pink triangle, turning the upside-down triangle on its head. However, there's still more to be done. Holocaust education tends to generalize concentration camp experiences rather than highlighting different groups' varying experiences. Though the repression of gay men during the Holocaust may have faded from public memory, hate crimes against LGBTQ+ people around the world are still rife. Obscure as it may be, the pink triangle is a historical badge that must never be forgotten. We can't always laugh. And I really wanted to bring this tonight because I think it's important to remember that. It's important to remember that we live in our society, in this community, we are progressive people, and we accept the difference, we accept who we are, where we are, and what we are. But it's not the norm. It wasn't the norm even here. And this month also remember I don't remember how it's called now, in the UK, section 28, yes. And in France it took until 1981 for the depenalization of homosexuality. So it's quite recent. And in some countries you're just put to death if you're gay or lesbian. So we should never forget that we are very privileged to live in this country. And it's something we really need to protect and to preserve, because we accept diversity as something positive, enriching. Right. So before we conclude our service, I'm going to have a look at the newsletter. When did you send it, Craig? Thursday. Yes. Yes. So tomorrow we have a family service, so if you can make it, it's always really nice to be with our children. We have our regular Hebrew classes, beginners Hebrew, biblical Hebrew. Now it's Dominique Scholtes. I don't know if you're online, Dominique, but I really wanted to thank you for doing that. I will talk to the Book Crushers group because they had a request for a Talmud class, so I'm freeing a bit of time to be able to prepare this for you. Friday morning, Torah study breakfast. Okay, next Friday, so there was, I'm going once a month to Bournemouth, so next Friday there was no service leader, so I'm going to invite KLS to join Wessex online next Friday, so we'll have an online joint service at 6:30 by Zoom. So once we have a link, I will send it to you, and anyone who wants to join will be able to be with us next week. And Dominique with Rebecca are leading service next week. Yeah, I mean, is there anything I've forgotten, Craig?
Well, just
You also...
big thank you to all the volunteers that were involved in the Holocaust workshops, schools.
So is it over now, the workshops?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think actually there is another school that are coming, maybe coming here.
Okay. So a big thank you to all of you who were involved in the Holocaust Memorial Day workshops that is run here at KLS, and I don't know how many people were touched by. Over 1,000. Because if we think about the latest Bruegges online about, Whoopi Goldberg, who said about the Holocaust, it's not about race, etc., etc. Gosh, we need education, because she needs to open a history book, and this is exactly what the Nazis said. It's about race, and anyway, I'm not going to. It makes me quite angry, all these things. I need to write a piece for Jewish News, so I need to calm down first. And I really love Whoopi Goldberg. I love her. She's great. She's a strong woman, fierce, and I think it's just maybe ignorance, and she got stuck into all these debates at the moment, which are so stupid and useless. But anyway, why am I getting angry about this now? I can't remember. It's not good for my heart. So, yes, because we need education. We really need to understand what happened, and we can't apply contemporary issues to what happened during the Holocaust. Because if today, the racial tensions are defined differently, which is perfectly all right because the world changes, we can't say that our categories today apply to what happened last century. Because for the Nazis, it was a racial issue. And they didn't care if the Jews were white-skinned, because it didn't mean anything to them. Okay, so let's conclude our service now with first, we are going to read one of my favorite pieces in the Siddur, on page 213. So before we read that, I also wanted to thank Jamie Acton Jamie and Elsa for funding and setting this wonderful system, which makes KS look like a mega church now. Oh, wow, it's just amazing. I saw this online because I was sneaking during my sabbatical to see what my colleagues were telling you, of course, and I was, wow, it's really great. So thank you. Okay, let's read together. And then all that has divided us will merge, and then compassion will be wedded to power, and then softness will come to a world that is harsh and unkind, and then both men and women will be gentle, and both women and men will be strong, and then no person will be subject to another's will, and then all will be rich and free and varied, and then the greed of some will give way to the needs of many, and then all will share equally in the earth's abundance, and then all will care for the sick and the weak and the old, and then all will nourish the young, and then all will cherish life creatures, and then all will live in harmony with each other and the earth, and then everywhere will be called Eden once again. So on this Shabbat, we remember Ray Levine, Mother Sandra, mother-in-law of Paul, and Buba to Karen and Ruth, and great Buba to Lenny. We remember Sybil Maxon, the mother of Lisa Walmsley, and we remember Beryl Ruddle, the mother of Miriam Ruddle. Do you have any other name you would like to remember before we say the Kaddish? And I also would like to remember Susie from Wessex, who passed away in December. Page 524, please stand for the Kaddish. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה. יתברר וישתבר ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי לקודשה ברכו. לעילה מן כל ביחתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל בני אדם, ואמרו אמן. Please be seated. אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא, לעת נשא וחפשו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא, ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא, והוא היה והוא הווה והוא יהיה בתפארה, והוא אחד ואין שני, להמשילו להרבירה, בלי ראשית בלי תכלית, ולא העוז והמסחר, והוא אלי וחי גואלי, וצוחב לי בצרה, והוא ניסי ומנוס לי, מנת כוסי ביום אקרא, בידו אפקיד רוחי, בעת ישן והעירה, ועם רוחי גבייתי, אדוני לי ולא יירא. Please stand. יברך בכל טוב וישמרך מכל רע, ויעיר לברכה בשכל חיים ויחונך בדעת עולמים, ויישא פניך שדיו לך לשלום עולמים. May God bless you with all good and keep you from all evil. May God teach your heart the meaning of life and grant you knowledge of the infinite. May God reach out to you with tenderness, that you may have enduring peace. And let us say, Amen. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom to all of you online.